guys, welcome back to a YouTube video. I'm Alyssa Hunt, also known as Markabone on Instagram, and Dream Girl Pixie on Twitter. This video is me talking about my process of making a 16-page comic. So it took me about approximately 3 months with school, being a full-time student, and that was a challenge. However, I started this project over break, so take that with a grain of salt. This experience was really fun, but also really challenging in a way that I did not expect. I went through a lot of burnout and my own personal writing experience and how that may have benefited me in some certain aspects and what I would do later in the future. I did finish it and the comics have been made and I'm waiting for those to get here, so once they're the physical copies in my hand, I will show you everything. Thanks. Okay, so here's my book, my comic, Platform Boots and Tears, and this is like the overall format of it. I tend to start with mind maps because they help me develop my story even further and make sure everything's a little bit organized in some sense. So this does contain spoilers if you haven't read the comic already. Some things did not make the cut, however they will be included in a future book, so watch out for that. Here it is. I started off with the concept of a girl falling in love and not be able to grasp her emotions, yet she wanted a relationship with someone. So I started off with navigating relationships is hard. I knew I wanted it to be in black and white. The original story was going to start with Edith, my main character, going through a breakup, and she doesn't know when she's actually in love. So I wanted a monster to appear so she would be able to conquer it. The early concept of the monster is that it was a manifest of her emotions, and she wouldn't know what to do about it. So I had many thumbnails about her being broken up with, and it's it was gonna be very fluffy. However, I didn't know how I would continue that. I knew it was gonna happen during the winter time as well, and I was debating what panel or page style I wanted it to be. So it was actually going to be 4-panel. However, I decided to do full page because I thought that would be better for the flow of the story. So this is the original idea of Edith. Her name was Edith Claudia. Her new name is now Edith Morpho. I really wanted her to be easy to fall in love, and she's very hot-headed, so extremely emotional. Sorry, I did not mean to hit the microphone. And I was just trying to understand the concept of emotions and how that impacts her. So I thought about it. It's what are emotions? How do they overlap? And I was emotions are very much a spectrum. They don't always have a black and white type of development. They just happen, and you don't know what the exact emotion you're feeling at the time. So, this is her design. She had a wolf cut with locks, a graphic tee, and a layered skirt. And she was a colored artist. This ended up transferring over into her new design. Her hair is not exactly wolf cut, but however, it is still locks and definitely helped emphasize her silhouette. She used in the book, she uses her art to express herself because she lacks body language to help communicate who she is as a person. So she ended up working in an art studio with another artist, and she eventually meets Max, aka Alexander. He's a painter and likes to hang out with people. So here's where the story exactly develops. I wrote multiple log lines of my story. Writing a log line helps you understand what you exactly want and what you don't want. So the original concept was a young 20-year-old that lives her life through art, learning that the hard way that art does not always communicate all emotions, and that she's always working. So I put that in yellow and put a little green mark to show that this is what I want. And then I wrote other notes like she puts her work over everyone else, but she craves to be wanted. This is somewhat true. This does not make it in the book because I didn't have enough time to develop it that far. So essentially I rewrote the logline as like a young 20-year-old struggles with work-life balance, slowly allowing herself or her art to reflect who she is despite wanting to live a life away from art. It hits both of the relationship, emotion, and work-life commentary because I wanted this to reflect some of the people my age, 20s, have a hard time separating their artwork from who they are as a person, rather than just letting your art be another extension of yourself. So, outside of that, I started developing her friends, or people around her. So, one of her main friends is Sierra. Sierra Martinez is a finger painter. She is the manager of the art studio, and she is like the one who often checks up on Edith and is always there for her. She does not have much screen time, however, from the get-go you can understand that they're pretty close, and she pushes her to actually move further along in her, and pushes Edith to move further along in her emotional relationships. So after that, people tend to write a script or outline. I didn't do the traditional outline way of just like writing it in like a huge long line like some people do. I don't understand it, like, you know, the English 10-page paper way of outlining. I don't do that. So how I outline is through scenes. I started with the interior, so I write in it INT, art studio, night, to tell me what time of day it is. This method is more for screenwriters, and this helps me understand what's going to happen in that exact chapter. So after that, I put the bullet points of what is happening in each scene. So I was like, Sierra meets up with Edith. Edith found out that X wants to see her, and then I take her out of that scene by starting a new one, the exterior of the art studio. X is like trying to see what Edith is trying to do, or like hang out, and Edith was like, I'm just at my art studio trying to work. You interrupted that. X is upset and he closes off to her. The second chapter, essentially this is still the extension of the exterior. She just feels guilty and she's like, why is this happening? And her emotion, aka the monster, quote unquote, consumes her, and she gets sent to another dimension where she's essentially just talking to herself, a true version of herself. And she's like, I don't want to deal with this right now, get me out. So she gets sent out, which is the next scene, and she's like, whatever, I'm drained now, I gotta go home. Instead of that, chapter 3 and 4 are her essentially going through like guilt for that, and she attends the art show that Axe asked her to do, and she's like, he's upset. He like threw her off on social media. It's like, whatever, I thought I knew you as a person and stuff, and people were there and they're like, oh no, what's happening? Sierra comes and swoops in and help her, and at the end of the whole book, Edith calls for therapy so she can get help. Essentially, my goal for the comic was to finish it before March and / the start of April, which I did hit. I finished it before March, or during March, essentially, and I got to print the copies as well. While I was doing that mind map, it helped me understand what my full story is, even though it's extremely short. Okay, so here's the start of my comic. So disclaimer, the panels are not there because I deleted them so I can be able to see what the final product looks like, since it does show throughout when I finish the comic. So I tend to start with thumbnails. Thumbnails are meant to be like scratchy and not like finished as most people see. Like for the final comic, they think they're just polished already. They're not. So here's my comic. First page. So I knew I wanted it to start with Edith in the art studio. She's working, and Sierra's like, "What are you doing?" Or you're working late, and she's like, I only work best in the dark." Like emo, all that stuff. And she's like, "Oh, that doesn't change you." And she's like, "Well, X wanted to see you, so check your fucking phone, you idiot." And I'm like, "Oh no." So I thumbnailed that out for the first page. And then I would take this page, send it to Clip Studio Paint so I can be able to finish it or like polish it up. So I would send it, and there you go. The app I'm using currently for my comic is called Comic Draw. It has a feature where you can write your script and see your comic at the same time. However, I did not do the traditional route of writing script, so I did not use this feature. However, it is very useful. Okay, so this part of the clip is not that important. Outlet is just showing the in-app features. So I wanted to also note that during the scripting phase, I actually write it while I'm drawing. So instead of making a whole separate document to actually write down my script, I just draw and write at the same time. And then I go through like 3 phases of changing the scripts to make sure I like the dialogue. So that's how that goes. But if you want to write a quote-unquote proper script, you can do it in the app. So hope that answers that question better. Bye. So after that, I take into Clip. I would import it back into Clip Comic Draw, and I would polish up the lines. So what you see here, for the little crisp lines, it's just like my pen tool. It is set to square, not like a shape or other shape tools, not that. It's just square. And it would show up like this little border grid if I was on that specific shape tool. However, I'm only on square to help see my pen. It is exactly reading what pen I'm using. So if I was using Peggy brush, it would look like that. So if anyone wants to know, it's rough ink pen. It's set at 8.3 pixels. So that process is pretty much repetitive throughout my comic book process. I just will do that. I can show you a way, like the way I do it, essentially. This is the page. It asks for panel layouts. I say yes. I would hit this button and pick a panel layout that I like. And this is on Sketch. I use the technical brush because it's pretty much clean, and that's all I need right now. And if I needed something like this, this is a character looking up, and maybe I would rough out like a 3-point perspective. She's looking at the building. I'll put her head right here. Also, comics read like this. It is a Z motion for all comic pages, unless you're doing like like strips, then that's just one single line motion. If that makes sense. It goes in a straight line for strips. Let me remove that. I could probably do like that. This is a process called thumbnailing. Like I said earlier, it's not supposed to be very clean, but it needs to be clear so you can understand the idea. And there. This is just a random page. So after that, I would send it to, like I said, go save your paint. Okay, share current page, open another app, PSD, and I choose how to send, and I would take this, hit that. So for platform booths and tiers, I specifically use the classic felt tip by True Grit Supply. This is a part of the mono liner pack, I believe. It's about $19, so that is not bad. So when you transfer this over from comic draw to clip, it is actually very annoying that they call lettering the panels and the drawings is this drawing layer is just when you actually draw. And sketches on its own little group layer, which is fine. This is just my biggest pet peeve and might be a future pet peeve for other people. Lettering, please hit lock that so you don't mistakenly draw on the panel layer. So when I am doing comic with Edith, it's not on 3.5, it's actually supposed to be on 3. For when I actually want to draw her. So this is just going to be a very rough, I shouldn't make her sad, she's happier, idea of this is not going to be the best drawing, but for the sake of demonstration, this is what it probably will look like for now. So imagine this being a lot more cleaned up. I would take this and do a bigger / thicker outline of her. I do not use a tapering brush. I use the same classic felt, where it's just rounded all throughout, and I would draw with it like a thick little outline. So it's just basically me retracing the same drawing that I did originally. That was not okay. Go back to 3. Close some gaps. Alright. We'll also take this and move it here so she's not out of frame. There are times where your character can be out of frame, however you might want to watch out for that when you start coloring or mistakenly drawing on the panel layer. So I will turn this off, and I can imagine this being like a black page, like that. And I would put that on the same layer as the inks because I'm fucking insane, you know. However, when I do screen tones, it's also made by the same people, True Grit Supply. I used Clean Small for her hair, and I just let it be. I will put my screen tones on a different layer, so if I do add on shading, highlights, all that stuff, I wouldn't mess up the original drawing. I would just have that on a different layer so I can thoroughly erase. And then for her shadows, I use another clean small brush. I believe it's this one. Actually, I lied. It's actually medium, clean medium for her highlights. So that's what that will look like. That's just how I got my screen times when people ask. The version I got for the brushes are the Photoshop files, so I can actually send that across through multiple programs because I use Clip Studio Paint, Procreate, and Photoshop sometimes. I just wanted it to be accessible to all. So if I didn't have this black, this is what it will look like without the black. However, I did do the black on the same layer, so that's what that looks like. No one sees what's underneath. It's quite messy. For the outfit she wears, that kind of has like that marker fill. I also use True Grit Supply again. The color marks pack. They replicate the actual marker fill on digital canvas, which is like what I like because I add some texture to my drawing. So that's where I got that from. As far as collages I do, I quite literally like search up on Pinterest collage art. I tend to aim for like kind of I guess it would be categorized as analog horror type of art. But I don't specifically type in analog horror into Pinterest. I just kind of like find random images that appeal to me, because I also do like collage art in my journals, and so I just accumulated a bunch. So you can just go online, find it, import it, and use the select tool and cut the image out and paste it all over your comic if you really want to. That's just how I do it. So I'm gonna leave this panel as it is. I would take this, export it to my photo library, go back into Comic Draw, go into the inks, rough ink layer or so, whatever it's called. And I would take this, hit this button that looks like marching ants. It's actually just a select tool. And like tap anywhere on the canvas and hit paste image. And I'll hit paste from photos. And it will import like that. So after that, here's what I mean by I use the pen tool on square shape. There we go. This is what I mean, because it adds like texture, or like it grounds my comic and what vibe it is. So it's because it's very much a textured comic. I just like the feel because I don't like basic shaped comic. So when I do this, I exactly try to align it up with the panel shape and leave it as that. So you would get like this cool little aesthetic going throughout. And for bubbling, I actually hand bubble everything, but however, Comic Draw does allow a feature where you can just type it out and put it into the comic itself. They actually have fonts that you can use. They actually have different types of it. They're all free. That's really helpful for people who don't want to like manually search for like letters. However, I handwrite it because, like I said, it grounds my aesthetic. You can make a font for your comic. It's quite easy, but that'll be for another time. So there we go. Alright, there we go. And you can add lettering, I guess, into here. It's just quite literally, people use that for onomatopoeias or like words that make sounds. You type it out, that's what that's used for. I don't really write that often, however, it does appear in my comic. Like I said earlier, I manually drew that out. But I could use that feature in the future. so here we go. She's saying hi. And you could grab the little tail of the bubble and do that. It's a quite useful feature. So I have the same thing here. And that's how that is. But that's as far as that comic process goes. It's like a rinse and repeat process, like I said way earlier in the video. It's just the same thing over and over again. So you get better at it over time. Okay, so different day, same concept, you know, whatever. But get my physical copies. I had the previous clip show an unboxing of everything. I just wanted to grab the copy of this one that's already out instead of grabbing like all 25. So here the full thing. I will show you how to get to this point. It's very simple with the app I'm using, which is Comic Draw, because they have the format already done for you. The only tricky part is actually figuring out the in-between pages, which is the front. Oh gosh. This part is a blank page, and the back also blank. But the company I use, Comic Springwell, helped me figure that out, and it was just very simple and got to the point. So yeah, see you guys later. The comic website I went to from physical printing, and it's Comics Wellspring. They're very much a small business, but they do mass printing of comics, so this is where I went to because I kept seeing the advertisements on Instagram. So for the products, I chose the low minimum 25 copies because this was mostly aimed for a small convention that I was doing and not really a big one, and I wanted to just have at least enough to make back my money. So you would go on the site, hit shop now, and I chose the standard size, and I kept the covers to gloss covers because it was cheaper. And here I would type in like my name of the comic, which is Platform Boots and Tears. And then I put interiors in full color because right now I only have some color in my comic, which was like hints of pink and green and all that stuff, but majority of it's like black and white. And then for new artwork or whatever, you have to hit I'm providing new files or exact reorder, which is when you are purchasing from this company again, but I'm not, so that was like my first time. So I would choose like specific types of comic pages, which is saddle stitch. It was the cheapest. And then here you would type in like whatever, like the exact information that they need to make sure the comic printed out right. So when I was showing them the cover, I was like, hey, the first page is the cover, and then the last page is like the back cover, and I sent them that, and then I would upload my Google Drive here and then add to cart, and I believe I chose, I don't want want to fill this out. I chose the 7 to 12 days because it was like urgent and needed it fast. So after that order, I would go in and be like, wait a couple days, and then they will send me my proof. I chose a digital proof, which is like free, and they're just like, hey, blah blah blah. They want to make sure that your colors are correct, the screening and all that stuff, and like maybe slight things will be a little bit off, and you will check the proof of whatever digital file you have. Just loading, and then I would be like, okay, yeah, this blank page is supposed to be there because that's on the back of the cover. And I was like, yeah, this looks correct, all that stuff. And then I'll be like, approve, thank you, and then got it, and they will send you that. And then it will arrive at your door in the next few days. So that's how that process goes. I'm not going to show you the entire thing because I don't want to get doxxed. So, yes, that's it. Okay, so, well, we made it at the end of the video. Ish. So I look different. It's because I was like getting busy with college and I graduated. School happened, so that's why this video took a really long time to get out there. There's some questions on Instagram people asked, and I saved them, but I'm pretty sure I answered most of them. I'll pop them in where they were specifically really targeted. A lot of the questions were about like pre-production of like how did you start writing, how did you come up with the idea, is it spontaneous and all that stuff, which answered early on that yes, it's sometimes spontaneous, but after a while, if I think the project is going to happen longer, I will sit down and plan it in my little digital content maker and all that stuff. So yeah, it just kind of happens, and if I actually want to go through with it. And that was like Platform Boots and Tears because I was like frustrated with college work and wanted to actually make a story that reflect me. And yes, fortunately I finished it in time for the convention and it was a hit. I made more money than I spent, so that was great. Met a lot of good, cool artists. My septum is uneven. So that was like fun, and hopefully I get to do that again, but I need a job because I graduated. We are jobless. We don't got any. Wow. So exciting. Wonderful. It cut me off. But on a happier note, I am making the second book of Platform Boots and Tears, and it may be a little bit longer than the first one, depending on how quickly I want to settle some of the plot points. I am hoping to orient the story more towards Sierra because I want the dynamic to also like be even because Sierra is an important character to Edith. So if you haven't read it, please read my comic. It is linked down below and it's also in every fucking link form. I don't know what it's called, but it's abbreviated to PBAT, Platform Boots and Tears, and it has its own website. People have asked if I was going to sell the physical copy online, and that's if you guys will fund it. That also means I need to buy more, because I did get rid of a lot of them. So, if that's of your interest, please tell me, let me know, and then I'll do another reprint. It's probably going to be really limited quality because I have to go through like shipping labels and all that stuff. So if that's of your interest, please comment down below and subscribe. Like this video. I'm so sorry this took so long, and it's very long, so yay. Let's probably be back with another video. This is going to be the next video is probably more oriented towards college, and the other video is going to be more oriented towards my actual other career, which is animation and specifically storyboarding. Gonna come up with new ideas on how to make my portfolio better because it is not good, but I just graduated, so yes. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.